What you need to know about the new COVID pill. So, some good news has come in about a pill that is an antiviral pill. What you need to know about Merck's new COVID treatment pill, and this is by Rebecca Robbins. And so this just came in, and so they've been talking about this, that there is a new pill that is an antiviral pill that sounds like it may be something that can be used without having to get any more vaccines. And it begins where it says Merck on Friday announced that its new pill to treat COVID-19 reduced the risk of hospitalization and death by 50%. Merck's plan is to seek emergency authorization for this antiviral pills to be used in the U.S. And here's what is needed to know. So who will get the pills? So the pills are meant for people who are sick with COVID but are not in the hospital. And so these are people who are sick and they're not in the hospital. So Merck's phase 3 clinical trial enrolled only unvaccinated people who are considered high risk, such as older people and those with medical conditions like diabetes, heart disease. Initially, the drug might only be able for those people, but experts expect it to eventually become more widely available. And so the pills are designed to be taken as soon as possible once a person shows symptoms of having COVID. So a time when the virus is replicating so rapidly and the immune system has not yet mounted a defense. And so in Merck's trial, volunteers had to have shown symptoms within the past 5 days, and some researchers think that the pills must be taken even earlier to be most effective. And so how effective are these pills? So Merck said that the drug cut the risk of hospitalization and death in half, 50%. And so in the phase 3 trial, 7% of the volunteers in the group that received the drug were hospitalized. And none died. That's the good news. So in the group that got a placebo, 14% were hospitalized or they died. So 50% efficacy is lower than monoclonal antibodies. The intravenous cocktail used to treat high-risk people with mild or moderate COVID, that's what it's called. And so studies have shown that those antibodies reduced hospitalizations and death up to about 85% among those patients. And so experts have said the new antiviral pills will most likely have a bigger overall impact on COVID than the cumbersome antibodies, because the pills can reach more people. And so when will the pills become available? So they said Friday. Merck said they would become available Friday. That is, it plans to seek emergency authorization from Food and Drug Administration as soon as possible because they've had such good turnout of people with longer life expectancy, more probability that they won't die, at least by 50%. So it goes on to say that the regulators could then authorize the drug by the end of this year, if all goes well. And so Dr. Anthony Fauci, president of Joe Biden's top medical advisor for the coronavirus, said at the White House briefing on Friday that he could not give a specific timeline for the approval, but the FDA will look at the data, and in their usual very efficient and effective way, they'll examine the data as quickly as possibly that they can, and then it'll be taken from there. And so Will there be enough pills for everyone? So he says, Merck says that they'll be able to make enough pills for 10 million people by the end of this year. And so the U.S. has already ordered 1.7 million courses of treatment. So that is nowhere near enough for everyone in the U.S. who gets sick with COVID and has to receive those pills. So how much will this treatment cost? That's the big question. So the federal government is paying $700 per course of the treatment. And so that is about 1/3 of the cost of monoclonal antibody treatment. And so the plan is to make the pills free for Americans, like the COVID vaccine was free for Americans as well. So whether there are any out-of-pocket costs is likely to be determined after the pills are authorized for use by regulators. And so are there side effects? That's another question. So Merck did not report any side effects that were serious among volunteers in its clinical trials. Any side effects, which typically involve mild complaints of headaches, can be hard to distinguish from feelings of ills from COVID itself. So this is what researchers are saying. So are there any antiviral pills on the way? So Pfizer is developing a similar pill, as are Atea Pharmaceuticals and Roche, that results from the clinical trials that are expected within the next few weeks. So they are likely to be available for use until next year. What does taking the pill involve? So it's a regimen that is familiar to anybody who has had Tamiflu, or if you've taken Tamiflu for a seasonal flu or an antibiotic for urinary tract infection. It will be in that fashion. So people will need to get a prescription, which they will fill at a pharmacy, and patients will take 4 capsules twice a day for about 5 days. In other words, 40 pills over a course of a treatment. And so how does this pill work? Antiviral pills are designed to block the virus from replicating. So molnupiravir is what it's called, tricks the coronavirus into using the drug to try to replicate the virus genetic material. And once that process is underway, the drug inserts errors into the genetic code. And so if you create enough errors, you create in parts of the virus that are absolutely critical, and the virus can't replicate. And so Daria Hazuda, Vice President of Infectious Disease and Vaccine Research at Merck. And so more to come on this. And so this is a new development, which sounds like good news. So we shall see. That's one of those things that I usually say about these kind of incidences. So getting to Moderna, what I've been seeing is that there has been a rise of inflammation. Heart inflammation is what have been a side effect. Moderna is a little stronger, supposed to be a little more stronger than Pfizer. Pfizer, I believe, is 88%, and Moderna is supposed to be like somewhere like 90-something, 95% affected. And so the way they described it, they said Pfizer's like a hammer to COVID, and Moderna is like a sledgehammer to COVID. So it's a lot more stronger, a lot more, whatever's in it is a lot more powerful. And a nurse told me recently, as I had went into a clinic, she told me this week, actually, in fact, that she had Moderna, and she said she felt headachy, but it didn't really do much damage to her or anything, but she did say she felt effects of that. She had other people that she knew, other friends and patients that had said Moderna, the effects of it is a lot stronger, and that's the one that causes people to have reactions. The Pfizer doesn't really do that as much to people. So I believe what people have been seeing, some people would be reporting things on the internet about side effects A lot of it, from what I was hearing from the nurse, she was saying was coming from Moderna, I guess because that's a lot stronger than Pfizer. Pfizer's strong enough to help inoculate, I guess, to vaccinate people from the virus, especially if you get the booster. Probably it gives you an extra dose, but Moderna is supposed to be a lot stronger, is what I'm hearing. And I've been hearing it from quite a bit of people who have taken it, have said Moderna is a little bit stronger, but it works. I'm not saying they don't work. What I'm saying is they work, but one might be a little bit more, has a little bit more effects to it, after effects. Now, as in Pfizer, you might have a little soreness on the arm, just like you would a flu shot. And then once that's over, you might feel even a little tired, like a little sleepy. But that's the most that you would probably get. Um, and then maybe a little slight headache. Nothing major. But it does work. You feel like, wow, now I've had this vaccine. I feel like more comfortable. I'm a little bit at peace. But you still have to wear your mask. You still have to be protected because you can still contract the virus. You could still, if you have it, you can give it to other people. So it's probably best to, keep washing your hands and stay as free of germs as possible. So that's pretty much what I've heard about. If you want to know, J&J, I know somebody that had J&J. They didn't really have like heavy side effects at all. They said they didn't feel nothing. Pfizer, same thing. But Moderna, they said is a little bit more stronger. But what I was hearing is that, after it was cool, nothing, no major effects. But what I've been seeing, reading recently, is that some people have reported that the Moderna had some people, because everybody's body is different, so how one person's reaction might be from another might be a total different thing. That with the Moderna shot, I guess after the after effects are a little bit more, for some people. Now, I'm not saying that's a large group of people, but for some people that it might be a little more intense, like the side effect, you know. But other than that, that I think it is still worth taking it rather than just being wide open for this COVID. Now, I do know some people that have, one lady said she caught COVID and she had to be out. She lost so much weight. It took everything away from her. She was so scared. She thought she was going to die. She said she was so sick she could not get out of bed. She couldn't do nothing. She got COVID. And so they have her on treatments and stuff like that. She said she barely made it out. And so she said she wished she had got the shot so she wouldn't have felt like that. But she said she could totally not do nothing. I had talked to her on the phone. She said she was so weak. Her body was weak. She couldn't do nothing. Her son had to help her with everything. I mean, it was like she was totally helpless. She said that COVID knocked her out. And so now she's doing better. But she says she has the long, what did he say? Long effects of COVID. Some people have that. When they've caught the disease, they get these after effects that just don't really totally go away. And so she says she wished she had gotten the shot. She'd rather deal with a headache than deal with what she was dealing with. She said it was awful. She said her body, when she couldn't get out of bed, and she knew she was going to die. She said she could barely breathe. She said every time she talked, she said it was an effort just to talk. Because, you're breathing when you talk. She said every time she talked, it was like a task trying to talk. She said that's how bad it was. Because when I talked to her on the phone, she could hardly get out her words. So it is real, people. So for those who are playing Russian roulette, keep on. It will find you. And when it does, you don't want to feel what it feels like. The way she was describing it, She said she just knew any day she was gonna go. That was it for her. She was already making plans. She was barely making. She just barely made it out. So anyway, I just want to leave you with that. So this COVID is nothing to play with. These people have been online making up these stories and stuff. Get the shot. Get yourself vaccinated. Try to get you something, because if you put yourself out there with nothing, you're gonna learn the hard way. You go to these functions, they opening up things. People are gathering again. The holidays are coming around. You're gonna want to see your family members and stuff. Somebody might come along. You might even know it, and they might give it to you. And not everybody comes out like this lady did. She said it was they said she could have died. That's how serious it is. It's like that's what you people playing with their life like that. So anyway, I'm just gonna leave you with that. But that's a lot of people don't want to believe it. They got all this stuff in their head. When you keep doing that, and you might not want to find out what happens next if you do end up catching this disease. It is nothing to play with.